Hey everybody, just thought I'd check in again. It's been a couple of weeks. Last time that we were on this space, it was we talked about the Battle of the Trans-Baikal region in Monroe Doctrine 4. And I thought that today what we would do is we'd move it over to the Russian Far East and take a look at kind of the opening battles in that area. So we're still going to be sticking around in Monroe Doctrine 4. So there won't be any spoilers for Monroe Doctrine 5, but of course if you haven't read Monroe Doctrine 4, then this will definitely contain spoilers for that. So just be aware. And if you're on this channel, why haven't you already read Monroe Doctrine 4? But before we get to that, I wanted to take a second and shout out to my good buddy TC Manning, who his book dropped recently. His first real effort. It's Cherubim's Call. I'll put a link in the description below. If you like military thrillers, then you definitely want to check this one out. Obviously, if you're following it at all, it's a science fiction military thriller, so it's a little bit different than what James and I write. But nonetheless, it's a real gripping story. It tells the background of some characters that if you're reading the Rise of the Republic series that TC has contributed on with James Razone, you will already know some of these characters, and it kind of takes a step back and shows how they joined the military, shows the military training that they went through before they were all finally put together in Apollo Company, and it's just a really neat book. I really enjoyed reading it, and I think that if you like military thrillers, you'll definitely like Cherubim's Call. But with that announcement out of the way, let's go ahead and just get right to the map.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is the order of battle for essentially the whole theater. Now, when Monroe Doctrine starts out, a lot of these Chinese units are going to be deployed to the New World. So, Cuba and Venezuela. We're going to see a lot of these units in action over there. But when I was putting this together, I just wanted to kind of get a feel for, both sides' military units in the area. And if you look at this and you just look at the number of markers, it really looks like a pretty even fight. There's a lot of Chinese units there, there's a lot of Russian units there, but if you're just going by markers, that's going to be a little deceiving. So let's just come in here and look at Vladivostok as kind of an area to compare. And you'll see, oh, look, it looks like over here in Harbin, the Chinese have a unit, and defending, boy, the Russians really sure have it covered. But if you click on these individual markers, you'll see, oh, look, this is the 20th Missile Brigade. Okay, that's interesting. And, oh, here's the 338th MLRS Brigade. And then the 60th Separate Motorized Brigade. That's all really interesting. That's a lot of really interesting units. And bringing the Chinese in, oh, look, it's the 78th Group Army. So you can see that just going by markers, it's not a really good way to get a feel for all of the forces that are deployed. But so, yeah, when I do wish that Google Maps had a military counter option, but they don't, and I don't imagine that they're going to anytime soon. So that's what we're looking for in theater there. And when we start this book out, the Chinese are going to attack all along the border, and we focus on two areas in particular. The first one we talked about last week, which was Trans-Baikal, and the one that we're going to talk about this week is the other side of the theater, which is the Vladivostok. So basically the Primorsky Krai. So that's the name of this whole region. And you can see the borders there. And so really it's these units down here that are the ones that we're primarily concerned with. One of the first ones that we deal with actually didn't make it on this map. Actually, and you know what? If you're wondering, I put these maps together at the beginning of working on Monroe Doctrine just to kind of understand what forces were in play. And then I actually continued updating them and modifying them so that we could see how the battles were playing out, so I could always keep track of what forces were where. In fact, we're going to move over to this map, and this really shows us how things play out. So it's funny, when I started this video, when I started to work on this video, I actually had to go and backtrack because this video, or I'm sorry, this map had already shown all of the battles up until the end of Monroe Doctrine 5. So I had to back it up. So there might be a few little inaccuracies here and there just based on the fact that it's been kind of reworked. But I really thought this would help you guys see and understand what I was thinking when I wrote these battles. So this is the Far East. This is Vladivostok down here. And our opening in Vladivostok is told from the perspective of the 155th Naval Infantry Brigade. This is Major Tolya Kaprianov's. He's one of the battalion commanders in this brigade. And we see the opening fight from his point of view. He's in the barracks on the base when the missiles start coming down. And we watch as one of the barracks gets hit, the motor pool gets hit. They lose the majority of their armor, the T-80 tanks that they have. But more importantly, from the sake of the battle, is down here in the port of Vladivostok. This is where all the ships are. And so they lose a majority of the fleet, and the most important aspect of that, of course, are the landing ships that are sunk in harbor. And so the good news about that is that, well, they're sunk in a pretty shallow harbor, so we can probably bring them up. We can probably salvage some of them. The bad news is that the Chinese are constantly attacking them, and so there's not much chance that they're going to get a lot of work done. And as soon as they show any results, the Chinese can always just pinpoint a strike to put it back down. The most interesting part of the battle, I thought, was the flagship of the Russian Pacific Fleet, the Varyag, tries to make a dash to loose her moorings and get out into the open bay. Now, for those of you that don't know, Varyag is the sister ship to the Black Sea Fleet flagship, Moskva, which was the one that was sunk by Ukrainian forces last month. In this case, it was a little better for the Varyag because they had their radars going the whole time. Essentially, they were using the S-300 system on Varyag to augment the air defense of Vladivostok. So from the moment the threat started coming in, Varyag was able to defend itself. And they made their dash, but as they were running, Chinese attack planes managed to get a anti-radiation missile to take out their search radar. Now, once they were blinded, they became very susceptible to additional attack, whether it was air-launched cruise missiles, whether it was ground-launched cruise missiles. Whatever was coming at them, they had a very limited capability. Essentially, they're down to their point defenses at that time. And so they do ultimately succumb to missile attack. Further